Plain City, Ohio. This cute little town has sprung back to life because it is near Columbus, and a lot of the old buildings have been fixed up and have specialty stores. Old Highway 42 has 2 eponymous stores on it that might be of interest. The first one I just stumbled across is Route 42 Bargains. Let's see what kind of bargains they have. This is a freestyle. I don't know if they have old stuff, new stuff, or what, but we're going to find out. Okay, this seems to be a return store. Officially recognized by the Korean government. Looks like there could be anything in here. This is where your Amazon returns go. And apparently a lot of people are finding interesting things here. Aliens with lights and sounds. A wireless controller. Well, the randomness of it all is fun, I guess. HDTV. All sold as is. Don't open the packages and you get what you get. I don't think this place is for me. Interesting concept though. Every day is a different price. It's open 3 days a week, and today is $3 day. 2 days from now is $1 day. And Sunday is $6 day. That must be when they get their fresh stuff. Our next stop is Country Closet Thrift Shop. Didn't know this was here either. Old Highway 42 in Plain City seems to be the place to go for all sorts of reselling activity. So let's take a look and see if we can find something old in this place. Certainly seems busy enough. The old Hitachi speakers are $3 each. Old school desk here is $5, so the prices seem good so far. This place looks pretty fancy. Gone with the Wind mouth, that looks like a 1970s issue. Somebody painted up a churn. Some sort of a light-up reading picture. The Savior. It's a little faded. I wonder if it would look better lit. Well, I really like lenticulars, but this one is pretty faded out, unfortunately. $7 is a great price. We're back in the houseware section, looking for old stuff. It's a very well-organized and clean store. The prices seem really good, but I don't know whether we'll find stuff that is the era we're looking for. These are all very cute, but I don't see a lot of people buying these old 1950s and 60s and 70s child's wear things. This looks like a Stetson piece. Indeed, heritage wear. They made the Rio pattern that looks like Varcloth that I'm very fond of. This has a nice Art Deco style to it, and was made by Lee Potteries here in Ohio. The Aristocrat. Great color on this, but a little scratched. Transferware, German. $3 each. Oh, the Christmas plates with a little bit of iridescence from the 70s. This is Imperial glass from the 1970s, the 12 Days of Christmas series. There may be a customer for these. I haven't had them before. Ooh, Hallmark Christmas movie night. I don't know about that. This is a great Roseville ashtray, but it's got a chip, unfortunately. It's not marked, so I'm sure that they don't know what it is. If it was in good shape, that would be a super bargain at $4. Old Buick car as a jigger, $1.50. I'm friend who collects shot glasses. Maybe that'll be him. This piece is an old piece that has gone purple in the window from getting a lot of sun over the years, but it doesn't have the holder, so I don't know how it would be displayed. Cute piece of whole Sueno tulip. But it seems to have a hairline crack, which is unfortunate because that was a good deal otherwise. Whole doesn't sell for the big prices it used to, but I do see it starting to come back. This one's also damaged. And this one's probably the most common little piece they ever made. Shawnee salt and pepper shakers are $3.50. He's got his cork. So does she. That's certainly cheap enough to get. A bunch of colognes. A bunch of Avon. This little boot is kind of cute. That's another Avon piece out of the 70s. This one looks like it would have had something with it that's missing. Nice old oil that, but rather a plain one. Drape pattern. Nice to see some real antique stuff in here, though. And this looks like it might be an old Druplace pottery. Attributed to Bennington. Well, it's a Bennington style. I wouldn't necessarily say Bennington, though. I think it's not quite as old as that. Probably early 20th century. Let's see where this Coca-Cola bottle was made. Portsmouth, Ohio. Upper 10. Picks you up. That's from the 50s. An old 7-Up bottle with the bubbles. That was a great logo, but this has been buried a long time and is not in good shape. Spinnin' Shack, Stuffin' Shack, Chillin' Shack. This is when Shaquille O'Neal was a rookie. Kentucky Speedway, Dollywood. These are all from about the 90s or early 2000s. Bunch of blue glass jars. So they've got some older stuff. Not a ton of amazing older stuff yet. Hot Wheels Rally Case. These actually sell for a little bit if they're in good shape and the price is right. $7 isn't bad, but it's peeling off on the back. Fisher Price Jalopy. That can sell too. Miniature electric corn popper. That's very miniature. That's about a handful of popcorn when it's done. Let's see here. Ohio State stuff is going to be popular where we are. Safe is smart, especially on a school bus. Ohio Department of Education, 1985. Old Colliers, but $8. Well, I can't get $8 for it. Peace pact signed to end the longest war in Vietnam, because that war actually started under the French in the 1950s. And they told us not to get involved, and we did anyway.
That's all of that.
Cute little leather wallet here. S.J. Yoder. These monkeys are kind of fun. What did these hold? Million air bubbles. So bubble blowers. I bet this is maybe a bubble blowing top. Let's see when we get it out. No? Oh, I see the bubble blower is in there. Those are kind of funny. I've never seen them before, even though it looks like something from my childhood. In the 70s, the post office came up with this idea of doing specific stamp collections as subsets of their issues over a year. And you got the stamps and the little mounting album and some description with them. It was a great way to get kids started. It helped me get started in stamp collecting, but he made a lot of them. So to be honest, $1 is about the right price. Looks like somebody had a hard time getting potty trained, so we're going to lead that. These are kind of nice. Anytime I see sets of colored cordials or little stems, I think these are kind of interesting, and they're only 50 cents a piece, so I think we're going to grab those. I've had some people say they wish I would go slower when I do the thrift stores, but I have to be honest. I only am going to find so many things that are vintage, like these Fostoria Colony stems here, which are a great price at $1 each, but there's only 3, and I look for even numbered sets where I can sell them together. But the truth is, I've been doing this a while. I can see the kind of things that I'm likely to want to buy pretty quickly in the thrift store, so I don't linger a lot. Honestly, as a reseller, time is money, and I can spend my time going through a place that's more antique focused, or I can go to a bunch of thrift stores in a day. Tupperware, these prices are pretty good, $2.50. The rust color there. This one's a little happier color. That would probably be the one to get. Lid looks just a little warped though. We'll do a quick perusal of the linens here. This place is nice though. I have to say, everything is organized well. It's clean. This looks like a Mexican saltillo. A fairly narrow one, but good colors. Feels like cotton rather than acrylic, which is nice to see. It's a very long runner, and it looks like there are 2 of them. And it looks like they are $3 each, so these are mainly for using on a long piece of furniture. My mother always put one on the credenza when I was growing up. And you know what? I'll have these for that price. I buy these because they're fun and colorful. I also buy them because you can put a lot of neutral colored items on them, and then they give a color pop and it displays well. And they also look good with basketry, and I still have a lot of Native American baskets to sell. Now, I do find buyers for these if they're really clean. This one's been cooked in a bit. These are these old Echo muffin pans. They did other things too, but it's this really strong geometric on it that sells them because they're cool looking on a wall, as well as making cute little muffins that have that design in the bottom. They do have some furniture here.
We need an umbrella. Yes, the one we got just got broken.
This place is really quite elegant. I wonder what it was originally. I doubt it was a thrift store from the beginning, but it's a nice setting. Nothing particularly old in the frame department.
Trees in my house. I have the old pictures, trees. Beautiful. Beautiful. I like it. Goodbye.
This looks somewhat like some of the 1970s style mirrors with the overlap, but this built-in clip hanger tells us that they're not actually very old at all, along with the Made in China label. Blue ribbon geese really were a thing, weren't they? And Whataburger baskets here, $8 on this one. They really do value these high-end thrift stores these days, I'm seeing. I do look for the older hats, and, well, that one's at least funny. I'm pretty sure they did not carve the back end of Mount Rushmore in that manner. Toys. Well, we'll take a look real quickly in case there's something old that we are missing out on here. McDonald's toys. People who really know this category might be able to find something good here, and there's entire bags full. Wooden blocks. After seeing how fun that pile of wooden blocks was at the Madison Bookville show, I have to admit I want to start picking those up again. Nothing really old in doll form here. That one has a Cabbage Patchy look, but she's also had a haircut. Old patterns, but these seem to mainly be children's, which are not typically big sellers. Oh, there's the 1980s for you again. Seems like people really want 60s, 70s, or earlier for these, though. Old sewing machine. Out of the treble base, I'm sure. The Minnesota. And the Good Housekeeper electric, which has its top down there. Interestingly enough, the portables do a lot better than these console models. The console models are great. They always work. And this one's priced at $15. The most I've ever gotten for one is about $50. Take a quick look at books and magazines, just in case we see something that looks interesting. I like older cookbooks. I'm not seeing anything older than about 1980 here, though. Picture books, atlases, the Hummel Guide. There was a time that this was very desirable, but Hummels are not selling like they used to. Neither is this guy. Pilot logs can be of interest. This one's awfully new and hasn't been used at all, though. I'm sure the Edison book is interesting because he was such an interesting person, and his influence remains today. Brownie Guide for Junior Girl Scouting. This one's fairly new, though. Older Girl Scout stuff does sell. Well, that was a fun thrift store stop. Probably $40 to $50 worth of merchandise for $12.31. They did do one thing that I have to say is a little annoying to me at thrift stores. I understand that you price things when the pricer prices them. But they had something on the card that was unpriced, and I said, "Oh, I like this." And she said, "Oh, it's not priced." And I said, "Yes." "When will it be priced?" "I don't know." And that was the answer. And I'm like, come back tomorrow. Let me go see if I can find out. Or, well, we price things and it might be a week. Just tell me what you're doing and then I know, and maybe I'll come back and shop again. But when you just say, "I don't know," seems like I don't care is what the real answer is, and that bothers me a little bit. Well, this is the place we intended to go all along. We finally made it to Old 42. This is an antique and vintage mall on Highway 42 south of Plain City. And it looks very pretty from outside. Lots of plants and hanging baskets and some nice old garden stuff, so that's auspicious. Let's see what they have inside. Well, right away you pick which way you want to go because there's 3 different directions, so we'll go this way. Now, it looks to me like they are doing a lot of interior decor here, so there will probably be a mix of old and new things. I like these green feet on this etched glassware from about 1940. Neat old corbels here, too. $125 for the pair. I like the use of barn board. It pulls everything together, but I do see a lot of new things in this space, and I'm mainly looking for vintage. You can put old and new together in a really nice decorative manner, and I like that and appreciate it. But for me, looking for serious collectors for resale, a lot of this is not up my alley. Yet it is nice to see it as a demonstration of what you can do at home, because in reality, most people are mixing old and new. 5% off the cast iron, and this is the big deep base Griswold large logo waffle iron. But these are not original panels. Wagner ware. This is going to be about $25 with the discount, which is about right. Antiques collection. I can't say that I'm a fan of new signs that say antiques. Let's just look at antiques. This is cool, though. Lone Star. Is this some sort of a motorcycle fruit? That is, looking with the leathers, priced at $110, looks like something from the 1950s, and this is really cool, this retro heater that looks like fireplace and it works. It's $100. That's actually a good price for one of those. The classic sunbeam here with the Trilon and Perisphere style from the World's Fair in New York in 1939. So this is a collectible piece for sure. And this one's priced at $75, which is about right when they have all the pieces in work. Only $8 on the Blue Rose halt. But I really like the shape of the salt and pepper shakers here the best. Giraffes. And these are actually very cute. Lamp work, they call this, where they use a very basic lamp flame to melt the glass and bend the rods when they're making these. These little angel cheruby looking pieces from the 50s are very sweet as well for a child's room. And here's another World's Fair piece that's pretty full. This is Chicago World's Fair Century of Progress, 1933, and this is $14. A lot of small towns like Plain City, Ohio, little tiny theaters would open up around 1900, and they would use glass slides and project them against the wall, and that was the Radio Opticon that did that for them. $68 on this one's a pretty good deal. Some of these were even done using gas to do the light projection. Here's a very cute outfit. Well, those were the days, and these can be too. Spend your days with me, looking around for antiques and vintage all over North America. Just click that bell to be notified of future videos. Oh wait, you're not subscribed? Well, subscribe, and then you can click that bell. And please do click thumbs up to like this video. It really does help us with YouTube. If you comment, if you like, it makes a difference because then they know that people are out there and they're interested. This is an Abingdon planter here. They didn't do a whole lot with painted pieces, but there's our logo on the bottom. $24, not a bad price on that either. This is Victorian, but it was a syrup, and you can see the holes. It's missing its lid, unfortunately. It has the English registry mark. These were done between the 1840s and the 1880s, and if you decipher all those symbols, which you can do online, we could tell exactly the day this piece was made. I'm not sure why that was important to the English, but for a while, they were required to put that on every item they made. And this is a nice piece here, also Victorian. It's nice to see some real antiques because we haven't been seeing a lot of true antiques, and that's actually why I chose this place, because I heard that they had some. This is another piece that is going to be Victorian era. And here is the edger plate. I really like the pretzel candles on this. Acorn is the pattern, and this is also English. I wonder what the price on that was. You know, now that people are mixing and matching old dinnerware, this little tureen, you could get a spoon for it and put it on the table at the holidays. It'd be a nice Thanksgiving piece in those colors. It also has the pretzel finial. But I really like this. Carved chieftain pin. $8. It's missing the pin back, but that's so inexpensive, and these had really basic pin backs that I'm going to go ahead and get that piece and have it fixed by my jeweler, because that is probably a $50 piece in the right hands. It's big, it's colorful. It's Second World War when they started making wooden jewelry because they couldn't get rhinestones anymore. That's a nice thing. This set, $165. Italian or Bohemian, I've seen both countries do this work. I never can tell the difference. Whenever I say it's one, people tell me it's the other, so I'm going to leave it up to you to decide. I have a hedgehog collector. Some of those are really cute. And that little Wedgwood pillbox, I think I might need to see in here. A lot of these are these cast resin pieces from the US from the 80s. The little bright one here is Wade. This is Van Brigel, and it's cute. Unfortunately, it has a chips.
Just wonder how much.
This is interesting. The first permanent settlement in the Northwest Territory, founded in Marietta, Ohio, where we had the convention, the Fenton Convention. And but that would sell for more in Marietta. I wish I knew which company made it. It's certainly one of the Ohio Potters, but it doesn't have a mark to tell us which. The one next to it was made just as a blank, and it's 18. They rent U-Hauls here, and they have a bunch of the old U-Haul boys from the 50s and 60s. U-Haul started after the Second World War in Richfield, Washington. I believe the brainchild of the fellow who could not find a way to move his stuff, and he thought, you know, there ought to be a way if you just rent a truck. And, well, look how that turned out. I like the Tootsie toy in the original Bobs. I heard about these guys, these beautiful cockatoos and other birds that were here. Look how pretty you are. This isn't for sale, but what a great old registry lectern from the 1940s. And they got people from as far as Alaska, so I guess I'm not and then became the farthest after all. Oh yeah, I don't think that works. This is a permanent wave machine from the 1930s. There's a wonderful and horrible advertisement from the 30s for Listerine talking about how the poor woman will never be the belle of the ball because she doesn't realize it's not her hair that's the problem, it's her breath. It's very funny, and they show her rigged up to one of these things. I'll bet it still works. You wanted a really permanent wave, that would be the thing, $250. Well, since I found one good piece of jewelry, I'm going to keep looking at jewelry. This one needs a proper center stone. I think they substituted Fleer, where something had fallen out, but it's big and chunky, and big and chunky is good. And let's see what the price is. $28. It says it's signed. The mark is Kingsburg Weber. Not a mark I'm familiar with, actually. I think this hairpiece is fun. I notice that people do buy these sometimes because it's just something a little bit different. This is priced at $18. more of a 50s modern hair comb as opposed to the jeweled ones we see from the 30s and 40s. Dream crystal necklace is nice too. But $40 is about what I would charge. A pair of darker green Bakelite round earrings. If they were inexpensive, we might take those. And let's see what else is in here. Some silver tone jewelry. Some basic gold pieces that are cute. Nothing spectacular, but nice. When you see galette marked in a really prominent spot, especially when it's not really well formed, this is another thing from the evil people at AA Importing. Do not like AA Importing. You know, this is priced at $195. Sure, a real galette would be many, many hundreds of dollars more. But what is this? Why not just make a nice piece of modern cameo glass and take credit for your work? I just don't get it. Very pretty cut perfume bottle here for $35. This one says hand cut. It was likely made in Germany sometime in the late 50s, early 60s. And that's really a pretty fair price for it. It's a great color. This is $24. This is Venetian glass, not Murano, but still Italian. Very nice. I love that cut edge. I don't seem to sell it as well as some of the other pieces because not everyone loves it the way I do, but at $24, I'm tempted. I still think that there's money in that. $12 for the acrylic coasters with all this really cool sea life in them. Seems like a good price. Aw, look at the kitty cat hooked rug. That's fun. Colors look 1970s with the avocados and the golds. But hooked rugs have been made for a long, long time, and they're pretty collectible now, and this doesn't have a plastic backing, which is good. The plastic backings tell me that they're too new for my taste. Unfortunately, I don't see a price on that one. Look how pretty these Bohemian mantle lusters look in the light. I like the ruby cut to clear because you get the clear lusters to refract light, and then you have a nice pop of color as well. These are Blanco, or at least this front one is. Nice color out of the 50s, $65 with the original foil label. This shows how you can use primitives in a really nice, very warm home setting. Brown is not a color to be afraid of. Brown is a great neutral, and you can do a lot of things to accent it. This is all nice, solid furniture, and it's just pleasant. It feels homey. And I like the way they've used the old doors as a background for this space. Now, too bad about the chip, because that's rather elegant. This is an Anthony. We think of Anthony as having done gold. Anthony was signature that we see on pieces by Freeland McFarlane out of California. And so if you see Freeland McFarlane and say, gee, that looks a lot like Anthony with the gold especially, well, that's the reason why, because it is the same thing. It was pretty popular in the 1950s and 60s to do multiple brands for the same company because you could get it into different stores. That's why you'll see Fayette, for example, on some of the bittersweet slung vases, because the Fayette label, well, that was the brand name that was popular in certain parts of the country, and then other ones were just sold directly by L.E. Smith. This is a very handsome encrusted chalkware pan light from the 1920s. It says it works, and $75 is a nice price. Now, not everybody likes the bulbs being straight out, but I like the fact that they use the amber. I think that could really make that work. And look at the way this would pop if you had it on the ceiling. You have to picture it upside down, of course, with tassel hanging. We are in farm country, and you see a lot of this very plain, very sturdy farmstead furniture in this part of the country. Nice for display, useful for storage. This oak piece is priced at $495 and should date to about 1910. And originally, you might have cooled something in it, and that's why you had a hole in the side. Rembrandt color control. Yes, there was a time that you had to have a very deluxe TV antenna set up to get signals, especially if you lived out in the country. This one's priced at $24.99. They're mainly a novelty now, but they're fun to look at. They're very space age. I collect these reverse painted shot glasses with the eye in the back. See how it's painted on the inside. I say, jolly what? That one is one I already got. Occasionally I'll see one I haven't seen. There's probably 8 or 10 in the series. Fenton custard basket. This will glow under a black light, of course. I always look to see if it might be Michael Dickinson because there is a premium on his wear because he's become so important as an artist. We see a lot of these basic milk glass pieces with kids' designs on the outside. In the 50s, Gulliver's Travels was Paramount film in that time. When Princess Florrie's lovely voice sings "Faithful or Forever," you'll hear Prince David's heart rejoice in harmony together. I did not see Gulliver's Travels. My parents tried to get me to watch it as a kid, and I didn't find it interesting, but then later I liked the book, so maybe I would like it if I watched it now. Pastels were popular again in the 50s, and that's when this Boonton Nulnac oil was created. A lot of people who drive RVs around like this because if you're into vintage and you like the look, it's something that, well, it's lead-free because it's plastic, and they're hard to break, and they don't weigh a lot. This pretty double vase here, I believe, is going to say Wildware on the bottom, if it says anything. Ah yes, it has the ink stamp. Max Weil started making these in Los Angeles in the 1930s. This one is 1950s because it has the donkey stamp on the bottom. He also did a line of dinnerware. This is a pretty good price at $20. These used to sell for double that, but Pretty Ladies are not selling the way that they used to, and I think they're quite sweet. And I imagine that a new generation is going to think so too eventually. Speaking of gold, these are very 60s glam, and they have their original pleated shades. And they're priced at $60 each. Oh no, $60 for the pair. That's actually a pretty good price for mid-century lamps. I don't know if I have a place to put them, but they're kind of tempting for that price. Here's another very useful piece of furniture if you're a collector. You have display area. You have a place to put dishes and glassware if you need extra room in your kitchen or your dining area. It's got some nice design to it. This is going to date to about 1900. It's American. And then you have the drop down for your secretary desk. It's big enough to hold a laptop. There's room for books underneath. Younger generations are starting to discover this furniture and realize that you get a lot of utility and practical, useful space in a fairly tight package these ways. This one is priced at only $375. There was a time this would have sold for twice or more. And that's the other reason that young people are starting to discover this furniture, because it's a lot cheaper than other things that they can buy new. Let's take a look at these paperweight candlesticks here. They're priced at $45. They look like they might be St. Clair, but I can't see a mark to tell for certain. And St. Clair is usually marked as is Gibson, so not sure who did those. This set here is Spode. There are American companies that did similar patterns, but this is what they were copying. This is Copeland Spode, and it's nice to see their interesting shaped deep bowls for serving. This is the Gainsborough pattern. That's a 1920s or 30s era mark, and it looks like they have a nice starter set for only $200. Spode is good quality, and a lot of people 30 years ago paid a lot more for Spode China sets than that. This handsome little corner piece is Black Forest from Germany, all carved in the grape patterns. This is going to date to sometime right around 1900. I like the pie crest edge. It's a lot of design, priced at $295. Well, this place has lots of turns and corners, and it's really fun to see different things pop up as you go through. Oh, a mesh purse. Let's see what kind of condition this is in. I like the color very much, and the flower design, and the fringe seems to be good. It's surprising to see this just laying out. Oh, wow. $55 is a pretty good price for this. I seem to find better prices on these in Ohio than almost anywhere else. This is a Mandalian bag. Mandalian is competitor of Whiting and Davis. If they'll do a dealer discount on this, I'll take it at that price. Another good price on an antique piece of furniture is this American oak hall tree from about 1900. You have this nice beveled mirror. I like the way that it's inset as a diamond. They've hung so much on it that I don't think people are really seeing this shape, but it's very elegant and has a nice waist, and then big arms so you could sit on it, and then storage underneath so you can put your boots, your hat, those sorts of things, and get yourself ready to go before you head out the door. I've always liked metal tables, and I like things that have handles. You could move them around in a small space. And this one is priced at $185. Yeah, the Martis Hollywood Regency. I think it's a little earlier than that too, but it's from the 70s. Reproduction oldie English miniatures need no cleaning. The reason they need no cleaning is because they are little topper pieces with brass handles, and they are treated with something that keeps them from tarnishing. That part is great. The problem is if they get spotted underneath, like this one, then you really can't do anything about it because the tarnish is permanent if it gets underneath that glaze. However, this is just a cute little box of fun doll stuff priced at $40. A lot of people like miniatures for dioramas. They're really just used for display, but these old pistol powder, rifle powder jars actually are collectible, especially when you get into older ones. These are probably 1960s or 70s. They're priced at $20 each. This lithograph is from the early days of radio. This is supposed to be Simmons Corners in Tucker County, which was where little orphan Annie had so many thrilling adventures on the radio. This looks like every little town in this part of the country. And it's very cute. It's priced at $150. My grandfather loved Little Orphan Annie because she came out about the time he was born, and his mother died in childbirth with him, so he never knew her, and I think he related to the orphan thing. I, on the other hand, as a kid, thought it was really weird that they had no pupils. Now, they come in more exciting colors, but this is the Trilon and Perisphere from the 1939 World's Fair in the form of a salt and pepper shaker. You see the little holes there, and they're filling from the bottom, but this is the Perisphere here. I think that'll clean up, and it's only $6, which is really inexpensive for this set, so I think we'll take that too. Need our deco design on this Cambridge Dairy Company milk bottle. Cambridge, of course, is the town in Ohio where Cambridge Glass operated from 1902 to 1958, and they have a wonderful museum there that I need to go see. Yes, sir, it's good for grown-ups too. That's a pretty cool milk bottle, and it's priced at $24 because it has interest to people here. The Francoma bed base is a rather plain design, but it's in the woodland moss pet color, which is actually fairly desirable now. This was also a rutile glaze where the glaze effect was done using a chemical, so it was a single process. $6 is awfully inexpensive for that. This little bottle would have been a cream bottle, and it's got the cream spoon as well, because the cream would separate, and so you could spoon it off the top. Pittsburgh Centennial, that they may all be one, that the world may believe. 1909, Pittsburgh was probably the biggest and most important it would become in 1909. This was made by Hall China way back when. Early Hall China piece, $35. That would be collectible for a couple of different reasons. Pittsburgh related and Hall China related. This is just the box, but Shakespeare is a really good fishing tackle company, and if you happen to have this reel, this box would make it worth quite a bit more. Oh, and it has two different prices on it. I suspect $6.50 was the price of the reel originally, and $8 is what they're looking for now. We saw a plain Aladdin drape lamp in the store for only $18, but the colors are what people really want, and this one is priced at $175 because it's green. We're in Ohio, so we expect to see some nice pottery. The Weller vase in the back in the pastels is very pretty for $175. I'm actually a fan of the Roseville Laurel, the vase in the middle there. And then my grandmother was given a vase very similar to this, the Roseville Jonquil, as a wedding present when she and my grandfather got married in 1927. This was a brand new line at the time. Morning Glory is also a very pretty piece. And I've always been a fan of the Weller pieces with the women on them. That's priced at $125, which seems pretty reasonable for what it is. Our bills have changed over the time. In the 1950s, they were the same size as they were now, but they had red stamps, as you see on these $2 and $5 bills. Then in the back, we have one with George Washington from 1917. Notice how much larger it is. That one's priced at $100. You see so many new knives made for collectors. This one's from the 70s, and Remington was starting to do limited editions. This one's in the original box for $165. $65 for a nice long set of sleigh bells. That's actually a pretty good deal for as many as there are. And then $150 on the Hubley doorstop, the dog here. I just got an egg crate that is not as fancy as this one. This one's priced at $78. Next to it is a Coke cooler, and this is Coke. It's the real thing, which is from about 1970. You actually don't see as many of these as you see of the older ones. It's in pretty good condition with the handles intact, and that's priced at $185. My coin shop was not open to the public when I was up in Canada, so maybe I will look at my list and see if I need any of these Canadian silver 5-cent pieces. Funny thing is that even though Canada produced so much nickel, they did not actually change the 5-cent piece over to nickel until much later than we did. This is a 1903 American nickel. We changed over to nickel right after the Civil War for 5-cent pieces, and Canada continued to make them in silver for a long time, and they were called half dimes. We have American half dimes too, but they are older than these. Ah, yes. People ask me about things to collect from the 1980s. Not entirely sure about this one, but it's the Over-the-Hill birthday flasher from 1989. It says, "Not a child's toy." I would have guessed that. On the other hand, the See and Says are, and there's many generations of these. This one says 1988. The fun thing is to see whether these actually make a nice sound or whether they sound like Linda Blair in The Exorcist. Pig, P-Y-G-G, was a certain type of clay that was used way back in, I believe, medieval England. And that's how piggy bank came to be the thing. And now they all are shaped like pigs. An interesting evolution based on a misunderstanding, but piggy banks are really cute. This one's American bisque from the 1950s. This one is Japanese from the 1960s or 70s. They are $18 each. This owl cookie jar, it looks a bit like treasure craft, but the painting on the surface and the slightly less detailed and slightly sloppier decoration tells me this is California Originals, who was Treasure Craft's competitor, but they had an unspoken agreement that California Originals would sell a little bit more down market from Treasure Craft. They weren't allowed to say so outwardly because that would have been collusion, but that's how it actually worked in reality. And because of that, they both got to continue in production for a long time. This one is priced at $50, and it's pretty cute. I like the way they're using old architectural pieces to make displays and vignettes. And underneath here, we see some nice old furniture. It's really refreshing to be in a place that has actual true antiques. I have to say, I picked this place over some other places in the Columbus area because all of the reviews and several of the other malls were that, oh, there's a lot of new stuff. There's a lot of stuff that isn't really very old, and they don't have anything that's actually antique. And you know, in an antique mall, I do like to see some things like this cute little dresser mirror that somebody handmade for their child sometime around 90 to 100 years ago. That's priced at $69. And out here, we're different. All of this truck to the vest closeout deals in America. Well, I think that's an old thing that truck was used for, but I do see that they have some things, including a kind of cool modern looking cart out here. I want to look at this up close. It's got a great style. It needs to be painted or cleaned up in some way. The reels still work well, though. I wonder if we can even see what the price was. Oh, yeah. That hasn't had a good price on it in a long time. Unfortunately, the wheels are bad. You know, it's one thing to be aged, but you got to work right. A ball of barbed wire. Kind of interesting looking. Wouldn't want to touch it. Mona Lisa. Was she enigmatic, exotic, thoughtful, or maybe just a little bored? I have some really cool black light posters from this outfit. Vanguard Studios. These were done in the early 70s, and when the fellow passed on a few years ago, he left all his old stock to all the people who had worked with him all the years, and they sold it off and split the money as their retirement. And so you're seeing these appearing in stores in this area. I have not seen these two before. Yeah, there goes that piece of paper. And these look like they are priced at about $100 each. When the Civil War reached its 100th anniversary in the 1960s, little hats like this one made at that time were something that people used for costuming, and You see reenactors wearing things like this too. This one says it's priced at $18. This looks like one of the Kettle Springs plates that was made here in Ohio in the 1950s and 60s. And sure enough, Alliance, Ohio. This one is Eisenhower. Usually they are just related to tourist attractions. A lot of churches had things done. A lot of towns had them done as centennial celebration giveaways. But this one being political and only being $8, it's an interesting enough design. I think I'll pick this up. I haven't seen it before. American Sweetheart in the Monax pattern. Really love the opalescence. You can see how pretty that is with the opal fire when you hold it up to the light. And they have a whole stack of them. The dinner plates are actually hard to find in these chop plates. I think they did a lot of chop plates and people bought just those because it was the Depression and maybe that's all they could afford. They are asking $275 for the entire stack. And given that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of them, that's probably about a fair price. All China Jewel Tea. I, for a while, was seeing a ton of this on the market, and it seemed like the sales went down and the prices went down. Now I'm not seeing it on the market. I'm wondering where it all went. Maybe because it got cheap, everybody started buying it again. These sconce lamps are similar to those Venetian blind-type shades we see on 1950s lamps. It's from the same era. I think it's really cool. It's a little rusted, but it also is priceless, unfortunately. Let's see if there are print blocks in here. It's got the alphabet printed on it. I see originally these were probably stencils in this box, which I imagine dated to about 1920. This might be fun to put in a kid's room or to use for some sort of collection of some sort, but it is priced at $165, so they like it even better than I do. It's on top of a needled primitive pie safe here. I was mentioning that that other piece of furniture had holes for cooling things. Well, cooling pies was done in something like this, hence the name pie safe, because you could bake. And of course, pies were not just sweet things. They might be meat pies, and you would bake a bunch and then put them in here so that they cool down without the flies getting to them. What a fun coin-operated riding horse. It says it's not for sale, so somebody loves it as much as I do and wants to keep it. I kind of hate seeing things that aren't for sale in shops, but I have to admit it is a neat-looking thing, and I am glad to at least get to see it. These are nice old French apothecary jars with these hoop plugs and the cork. These should date to right around 1900. They have $145 on the set of 3. Nice wicker chair here from the 1920s. A little bit of fun and opalescent, and a pair of really nice vases here. These have, let me take the Mardi Gras beads out of them so you can see. These are Metlox Poppy Trail, and this one's Zodiac. This is Sagittarius. This should date to about the 1940s. Metlox very popular in California. And as funny as much Metlox as I've seen over the years, I don't think I've seen these two pieces. And then this one represents Virgo. These are very cool. They're $37.50 a piece at the price that they're tagged. This is a lot older than most of the Zodiac stuff we see from the 1960s and 70s. And that actually is a really good price for the pair. I am going to take these, but I think this is something that is just not something people in Ohio would be aware of. They're more aware of their Ohio potteries. Yeah, these are pretty great. A Rit die cabinet. I love the shape. The graphics are pretty plain, really, but great shape to it. Some more hooked rugs. And a nice old quilt here. I like that this has an unusual undulating border. It's not just a regular plain square. Let's see if we can find a price on this. In this part of the country, quilts can either be really inexpensive or really pricey. There's a lot of collectors here and people understand them, but some houses just had a lot. This one's $185, which I think is pretty much full price on this, but it is a nice piece. A little bit of vintage and maybe not entirely vintage fashion. Love that guy hanging in there. That is definitely out of the 70s. Old style graphic. And this looks like it's another Vanguard piece. We're going to find out that they did a lot of really cool stuff. I hope somebody who worked for them actually kept a catalog or kept track of some of these pieces. They're all in new frames. Super freak. We blew it. Oh, yes. Anti-atomic bomb. The Bikini Girl, this is probably from the 80s. This looks like they're trying to go a little more Nagel-esque at that point. Passion, that's what we have for antiques and vintage. And if you share the passion, well, help us get around the country because we love bringing you all this stuff. And our members and their extra contribution help us all to enjoy our passion more. So thank you to our members. If you're interested in membership, look under the dash line of the description of any video for membership links to find out the different levels and the different perks that go along with it. Great graphics on At the Zoo. This is back in the old days when zoos were more of a cage and bar kind of affair. Most zoos now let them be in enclosures that are a little more like what they're used to in the wild. This was presented to someone in 1957, but it's actually a 1930s piece, and look at the great graphics. It's $8. The binding is in really bad shape. I have to admit it would be tempting if there's more color plates like these great flamingos to take this apart, as much as I hate the idea. This one is the polar bear. These are just beautiful. It's a great book. I wonder if I might be able to get it restored. I have a friend who can sometimes restore old bindings like this in an acceptable manner. Maybe I'll get it and have him try at it. But it is pretty damaged on the binding. You know, I just don't have the heart to take it apart, even though I know I could frame up that flamingo and sell it in Florida and probably make my money. A savvy reseller would probably take it apart and frame all of these great graphics, but I would rather leave it and hope that somebody comes along who loves it the way it is. Well, they had some wonderful birds here, and this would have been to bring birds home. It's got a little acrylic air vent in here, and cage, and a perch. Looks like something from about 1940. I really like this, actually. I don't know if it's for sale because they keep birds here. Another really cute box. It's a little chipped, but this is chromium plate. And this is from the 1920s, actually, a little older than you would think. I always thought these were 30s, but it has the mark on the bottom. And that somebody got it in Jackson, Michigan in 1924. It's really sweet. It's $28. It's not in perfect shape, but it's sure a neat piece for the price. I so prefer this to new painted and faked furniture. This lived in a barn for a long time. It's missing its doors. It still has its drawers. Makes a great display. This is the kind of thing I like to see when I see old painted furniture, is actually old painted furniture. Cute yo-yo quilt here, $195. I see prices pretty high on these, but think of all the trouble it was to take these little pieces of fabric, sew them together in a little circle, bind them together, and then sew all of it into one big piece. So you can understand, for the amount of work that went into it, it's a fair price. Boutonniere, also called Ever Yours, was a Taylor Smith Taylor pattern, and it was a relatively inexpensive pattern back in the 1960s, but this one has everything, including all of the glassware, which is hard to find because this is about the time a lot of people got dishwashers and they washed all of this to death. So for all these pieces, if you like this and wanted to use it, $350 is probably a fair price because that's a big set. Lots of wall masks from the 1980s. $22 on this one with all the headgear makes this a little more desirable. I really do look for the ones that say clay art from San Francisco and that are USA made, though. This one's a Vandor, but this is made in Japan, also from the era. $64 on that. Vandor was one of the first to make the masks offshore. Yes, the birds are beautiful here. This is their home. This guy is very busy cleaning his box of toys. Well, it's time to pay and hit the road and finally get home after a very long, fun buying trip. I am so excited to bring all of these things to you, and we will see you again from somewhere in the antique and vintage world.
If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help. And we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.